Let's go. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Panoramic Perspectives. We have a very, very esteemed guest today. He's one of India's most prolific entrepreneurs. He has founded several different brands: Whiskey Samba, Wine Company, Antares, Kimono, Mademoiselle, amongst others. He has been awarded Asia's Best Young Entrepreneurs. He's been a Young Achiever of the Year. And he's a whiskey Obi-Wan. He's a wine taster and just overall one of the most incredible people that I have had the pleasure of meeting in my life. Um, I think it's time to get just straight into it.
I would have loved to bribe you with whiskey to say more, but I know you don't drink. But thank you so much for all the kind words. It's been some journey and waiting to share it with you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, this has been we've been very excited to have you on,
My pleasure. Yeah.
and
My pleasure.
the idea is just we want to break down that journey and see how you gotten through life the way that you have,
And the journey continues.
and the journey will not stop.
Forever 29. So, hey, the journey is only started.
I love the energy.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you studied in Canada, and I think it was just one fine day where you said, "I want to drop everything
Yep.
and move back to India and compete with the McDonald's and Pizza Huts of the world."
Yep. Yep.
Where did that decision come from, and why did you even make that move?
So, I kid you not, but I had just finished reading Paulo Coelho's Alchemist. And I said, listen, I need the universe to conspire and make things happen. I'd been out of India for very long. So I'd done my schooling, bits of my schooling in Iran, Italy, did my engineering at McGill in Canada. So I'd been out of India for really long and I really wanted to come back. Right. And so the choice was either come back with G. I was working with G at that time overseas. So either come back with G Capital or just take a punt at being an entrepreneur and come back. Now, the problem is that no one in the family had ever worked for a corporate. They were either in the government or civil services or the army. So for them, just working for a corporate was big enough of a change. And here I wanted to be possibly an entrepreneur. And obviously, there was no money, right, to fund it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't married, so there was no question of a big dowry or anything. So that was also out of the question. So the whole idea was, try your luck at creating a brand, creating wealth, and find something to build that's worthy in India.
Yeah.
And that's how the journey started. I was 24 when I started, and yeah, that's another whole new story.
In that moment though, you're that young.
Yeah.
Were you surrounded by people who were doing things that were so extraordinary, or was this just your own ambition where you wanted to push the envelope and take a punt?
Well, it's pretty fresh in my memory because it's only a couple of years back. I was 24, and I have to tell you something. All these quotes that you hear, that you're the sum total of the five people you hang out with, and all these are really cool. But listen, the five people I was hanging out with drank beer and drank vodka, and
Exactly.
a bunch of. But does your company and does your friend circle, right, determine a little bit of the kind of desires or the kind of wishes you inherently start having? Yes. It does push the envelope. Luckily, I went to a great school. I change schools every 3 years, right? So you're in a new environment, you have to make new friends. So change is like a friendly companion.
Yeah.
It's not a threat, right? And then I studied engineering, and then I worked with G Capital in finance, and I did Six Sigma. So there was so much change, but the couple of constant things were that, listen, you do surround yourself with people, whether it's the best sportsman in your year. It doesn't just have to be unreasonable company that people our age can be surrounded with. But as long as you're with guys who just excel in any field, right? They push the envelope, right? And I remember I went for an interview for a company when I was my final year at engineering, and this company that was recruiting, right? One of the guys was a F1 driver.
Oh wow.
One was an orchestra player for the New York Philharmonic, and they were all working in the same company, right? And I was just sitting there saying, "Wow, this is amazing! You know, the potential of what you can achieve,
Yeah.
and the seed for that potential is your thought, right? If you think that you want to do something big, you will do something big. And there's this whole philosophy of thought thinning. You know, normal people think of 70,000 thoughts a day. But if you look at top tier athletes or CEOs or really high performing actors or anybody, why they succeed is that they have reduced the number of their thoughts from 70,000 to closer to, say, 15, 20,000. Right? Nirvana says zero. So you can't hit zero. No, you can't be Buddha. But if you can reduce 70,000 to 15, 20, and not 70,000 diverse thoughts, but 15, 20,000 thoughts, but centered on one or two thoughts, that's super powerful,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So luckily that happened very early in life,
Mm-hmm.
where I was able to say that, listen, I want to do something. And then you gather your resources and see, what makes it different, what adds value. But yes, that desire and that, finding where you can add value is the starting point.
How do you get that kind of focus that early on in life?
Pray a lot, man. Or be surrounded with people who pray enough for you. So I think, listen, guys, your question was, how do you get this focus early on?
Yes.
How can you get this focus late? This focus should be constant,
Right.
right? There's no time for focus.
Mm-hmm.
Focus should be, even in school. I tell my kids, it's not about excelling in grades. It's not about excelling in cricket or football or a sport. It's about excelling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You find your niche, you find your focus. You have to be good at whatever you're doing. You have to be passionate in whatever you're doing. You can only control the input, right? And it's one life, so live it large. It's okay to fail. I think you got to take the fear of failure away. Like I went nearly bankrupt,
Yeah.
right? When I had all these dreams, I had no money, right? So I don't think capital is ever a constraint for your dreams. You should dream irrespective.
Mm-hmm.
And capital is the easiest thing, always.
That's very interesting that you say that because you just mentioned before as well that given your family background, like even working a corporate job was a huge difference. When you decided to come back from Canada and start your own business, start your China. In I think one of your interviews with The Economist, you mentioned that it wasn't very well received from your wife's family and your family. And so, how did you navigate that? And why did you make that decision in the first place of getting into restaurants
Yeah, it was more
specifically?
more from my parents. They thought I
Okay.
was going to be a waiter. They said, what's wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
We've fucking spent so much money on his education, and now he's going to turn a waiter. They didn't understand the whole concept of wanting to own a chain of restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have money for one restaurant.
Uh-huh.
So what are you talking about owning a chain of restaurants, right? But like I mean, today, obviously, when you achieve and all, it's completely different, and they understand that it's all possible, and they're very proud of it. Listen, you have to believe in your dream,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to surround yourself with people who believe in your dream,
Yes.
right? And I tell youngsters a lot. I say, listen, date very often in college, right? Because you should be okay with a no,
Uh-huh.
and date above your grade, right? They
Absolutely.
try. It doesn't matter, because
Yeah.
it's okay to hear a no. You know why? Because when you go out to raise millions, you will hear no's.
Yes.
And then it can't be hurting you, or you be sensitive, or X or Y or Z. And luckily, if you just have that resilience
Mm-hmm.
and you believe in it. But the key, it's not about just believing in something. It's you have to believe you're adding value.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have to believe, in Hindi, you can say, like in spirituality, they say that you have to be doing seva in some way.
Yeah.
So you can't just be saying, no, 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 listen, I have this great idea. All of you are idiots and I deserve the money. No. You have to truly see the opportunity,
Mhm.
see how your value addition i- improves things drastically. So, for example,
Mhm.
when I looked at things, I said, listen, we in India, we love Chinese food, man,
Yeah.
right? And if you look at it, when you're in your 20s, right? You might love South Indian, not might, you will love South Indian, you love North Indian, but is it sexy to take your girlfriend out for dosa, right? Or for butter chicken? You're not going to do that, right? Saath mein pyaz khal rahe ho. You're not going to do that. You're going to, but taking her out for, say, American chop suey, which is neither in America nor in China, it exists in India. Or you have dishes like dim sum, which
Yeah.
is essentially momos,
Mhm.
but cooler. Or chicken Hong Kong, which is again not in Hong Kong at all.
Mhm.
It's just cooler
Yes.
taking people out for Chinese food,
Yes.
right? It's also cuisine that you can't really make at home.
Mhm.
So it makes it unique that way that you're going out for a different meal. So that's where the whole vibe of Yo China being young, sexy, speedy, all of it came in.
Mhm.
So was it adding value to the food scene and creating a differentiation? Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right? Did it exist worldwide? Like, listen, this is not AI, right?
Yes.
Brick and mortar businesses are real time,
Mhm.
right? So, did Panda Express or did other international Chinese chains exist world over? Of course they did. So, in a country like India, where people love Chinese, why isn't there a Chinese chain? Why isn't there an Indian chain? Why isn't there a South Indian chain across? I mean, there are South Indian chains regionally,
Mhm.
but why isn't there a South? So these are needs, and if somebody has a great idea to fulfill this, of course it'll work.
Mhm.
You know, I remember at Yo China once. I have to tell you a hilarious story.
Mhm.
I was in Shanghai shopping for chopsticks because we had 72 outlets at one point, and we were shopping for chopsticks. And I had my translator with me, and I'm shopping. And in China, everything is MOQ, minimum order quantity. So you have to buy containers.
Okay.
So he said, okay, we buy 2 containers of chopsticks. The guy looks at me, the buyer. I'm the buyer. Sorry, the seller's looking at me, and he asks the translator. He's like, why is he buying 2 million chopsticks in India? Like, is this for prisoners of war? And I said, no, bud. No, people in India love Chinese food.
Yeah.
Which is a fact.
Yeah.
So you add value. You be convinced on where that value is. You be convinced on how it'll make money,
Mhm.
right? And then raising capital is the easiest. That shouldn't be the constraint to stop.
Right. Interesting.
What is
There's
it?
yeah, no, I'm saying that there's so much to dissect there because you went bankrupt, you then decided to add value in a certain way, you found a market.
Yeah.
That period where you felt like you were bankrupt or
I didn't feel I was
or
bankrupt.
nearly bankrupt,
Yeah.
nearly bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like how do you come out of that on the other side and actually
Yeah. See, I have to tell you why I went bankrupt, and
right.
then you have to understand the journey after that. So at 25, I started Yo China.
Okay.
I was 25. At 27, I raised 100 crores. And at 29, I lost it all. Right? So I didn't, my true learning was not in raising the 100, but from losing it all. So it was frankly the most expensive MBA that anyone could have ever had.
That's true.
Later, when my parents said I was 27, they're like, "Listen, why don't you go to Harvard and this and that?" I said, guess what? The Harvard Endowment Fund and other such funds invested in me, right? And I don't really know if if after losing 100 crores, I think that learning is so precious. So it's never the raising the 100; it's the losing the 100. But I made, when I reflect back, there were three top mistakes, right? I say top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, but cash flow is reality,
Wow.
right? So
Okay.
listen, just because you can open in Khan Market, you can open on the Fifth Avenue, you can open in Beverly Hills, should you open? No, that's vanity.
Mhm.
Bottom line is sanity. Yeah, I mean, profit matters. But frankly, it's cash flow, right? So you can't keep buying your bullshit that, oh, I'm making X money because you've played with the balance sheet, P&L, this and that. No, no, no. The only statement that matters is cash flow, right? So the second big learning was, again, it goes back to humility of saying there's no need or requirement for everyone to be national.
Yeah.
What's wrong with being big regionally? What's wrong with one?
Mm-hmm.
There's in New York, there's a restaurant called Balthazar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fabulous restaurant.
And there's one.
There's one. Okay, over years they finally grew into another one. There's one Louvre. There's enough of one great things. There's one Bukhara. So what's wrong with one great thing? What's wrong with, say, a regional chain? Why always start with this whole national? And I had this whole thing. I also wanted to be a national chain. We opened in 17 cities. Why not just open in one and have 17 stores in that one city? What's wrong in that? Right? The third thing is that raising capital should be a need, not an event. So very often when you're doing well, money will come to you. And then it becomes super cool that, I can raise 100 crores. So that's an event. What, do you need 100 crores? Or do you need 20? You need 30. Right? So it's very important to be sorted on these questions. And I think I was very fortunate to go nearly bankrupt very early in life. Because then you need the perseverance to swim out of it. And perseverance and an array of good astrologers. I had a panel of 3-4 astrologers. So I went to them also. I said, bro, what is going, shit has hit the roof. And I need to figure out, should I bail out? Should I swim? What should I do? And luckily they said, no, keep at it. So I said, hell with it. I'm going to stick to it and keep at it. But the learnings of these are critical. Yeah.
And they don't come easy. Like you really have to like go through that yourself, learn how perseverant you are, and then swim on the other side and
Yeah, I mean,
figure it out, right?
listen, the day you raise 100 crores, right? And I mean, there's always this half spiritual side to my life. I actually had a Guruji tell me, on the day I went to tell him that I've raised 100 crores, he met me, hugging me and saying, congratulations, you're going to lose it all.
Wow.
And I was like, what's he talking about? This guy is like a monk or whatever. He has no clue. Because you are invincible. You've just raised 100 crores. You're 27. You've put in 5 crores in the business. Someone's valued it at this amount. But the reality is that unless you face those knocks, right, you will not learn, right? And that's why you can also surround yourself with people who have faced those knocks.
Yeah.
But then you have to be humble enough to listen to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's possible to avoid a couple of mistakes, but you cannot cancel out all mistakes. It's impossible, and you shouldn't, because there's so much joy in later reminiscing those mistakes and those days in the trenches. You're never gonna, like, a soldier never remembers the old monk that he drinks in the mess.
Yes.
Right? He's gonna remember the days in the trenches, and that's more fun. That's exactly what happens for an entrepreneur.
I was very like, a lot of entrepreneurs do, as you said, celebrate raising money, even when there's no need. But I think that's one of the disconnects generally, is that it's not raising money that you should celebrate; it's paying your investors back. That's the important part, right? Um, with when you read The Alchemist, is that what got you into meditation and that spiritual side of you? Is that how it all
No, I
started?
think maybe losing all the money did.
That'll do it.
I'd lie if I told you. I'd lie. No, not even losing the money.
Yeah.
See, I feel. See, there's a method to the madness, right? And what spirituality does is, if your ups and downs will come,
Yes.
right? It's about how you respond to the good and the bad times. Number one, right? So spirituality arms you with that. Spirituality arms you with clarity, right? So what should you be building? How do you differentiate from everyone else? How do you do things that are completely avant-garde, right? Some of my best ideas have come through meditation. Genuinely, like if you really want to come up, if you have a half-baked idea and you don't know exactly how to refine it, meditate. And I kid you not, you know, it works. It works. So the effects are what? It tells you how to deal with good and bad. It gives you laser sharp focus. It gives you an idea as a gift because you can see things that you can't with all the clutter, right? And then the third biggest benefit of this is that you change your perspective on what you want to earn in life, right?
How has that changed for you over the years? That perspective.
Now it's clear that I want to earn blessings, right? I want to earn blessings. Money is secondary. Of course, I want to earn money, but I want to earn blessings and money with blessings. Everything with blessings. And even in the restaurants, I'm going to show you, we have coasters where we actually write a blessing to the guest who drinks water that's put on the coasters or anything that's put on the coasters. And the restaurant, again, the staff twice a day does a prayer where they say, listen, we are cooking this food much like your home where your mom cooks food with love. So they say that we are cooking this food with love and we're not seeking money, but what we really seek is whoever eats this is filled with peace and joy, and they be blessed. Because if they are blessed, we know we're fine. You know, we'll be taken care of. I have a water mat where I'm going to show you where, see, this is a water mat, right? It's called a water energizer mat, and you can put your tea, right, and you can put your cup on it, and it energizes it because it charges it with great words. And words that really, you're 70% water.
Right.
We're 70% water. I have a water NGO where we've adopted, you know, tons of lakes and rivers, ponds, rehabilitated ponds and stuff. Because listen, you got to collect blessings. So whether it's blessings of nature, blessings of people, blessings of guests, blessings of your customers, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Do you make a lot of decisions based on astrology and what
Not
your
on astrology.
panel of
I don't make
astrologers say? No.
no, zero.
Okay.
You know, that's more fun. I mean, it's always fun.
Yeah.
But I don't make any decision based on what astrologers. I make decisions based on meditation,
Okay.
silence, spirituality, blessings, but not astrologers.
Okay.
Listen, you can make anything happen. Anything can come true, right? So you don't need the planets telling you. You can will it. You have to be the airbender, right? So you come up with. I went to a conference in Israel before COVID, and these entrepreneurs were talking about how paraplegics can walk. Right? I mean, listen, we should be thinking big.
Yeah. But do you feel like because you've been an entrepreneur all your life, you've also been a bit delusional relative to
You have to
everyone
be
else?
delusional. I think that's a very, very good point. You have to be delusional. I wouldn't use the word delusional. You have to disconnect from the so-called reality.
Right.
Right? Now that the world calls delusional, that's not delusional. Right? What Steven Spielberg creates in movies, or say it doesn't exist. E.T. didn't exist till it was created. Now, was he delusional when he thought of E.T.? No. It was reality that got manifested.
Right.
How do you demarcate that self-confidence that you have and the delusional side of it? Like,
It's again,
how
it
do you know
goes.
which side you're on?
See, it's again, business and spirituality is like linked, completely linked. If your business
Yes.
is essentially solving a problem and earning blessings along the way,
Yes.
you'll make a ton of money. If your business is about quick money, you'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs today say the plan is to sell out in 2 years. Why? Why?
Right.
Why selling out should be karmic. Selling out should be an opportunity comes. You don't hear people who build homes to live in to say, you know what, I'm going to build this home and in 2 years I'm going to flip it. Your business is like your home. What if you entered a relationship, romantic relationship? I'm going to flip it in 2 years.
Someone is creating an app in the Bay Area for that for sure.
Right? No, but like what is the continuity? How can you solve something in 2 years? You're not solving anything in 2 years. Right? So if you're clear that there's a lifetime value proposition in what you're planning, if somebody comes and offers you crazy money, of course sell it. But your intent should not be. If an entrepreneur comes to me and says, the discussion starts with, guess what, in 2 years you'll make so much money because I'm exiting. Boss, red flag. No discussion. You tell me how you are going to change the world, how the world is stupid because they can't see it, right? But you have this brilliant idea to change the world, and this is all you want to do for the rest of your life. And it's okay if you sell it in 2 years, but that's not how you start.
Right. You've also been so rooted in like building value and building experience as a byproduct of the value that you build. You always say that every restaurant you've built is a 60-minute vacation for all your guests, right?
So I've operated in the budget, mid-scale, fine dining. I just love luxury. It's just a space I enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy fine alcohol, fine vacations, fine food, fine just everything with finesse. It's something I enjoy personally. So it's the space that I like building. It's the space I can add value to because I understand it, and I think you're not fighting on price.
Yeah.
Right? And the difference between price and value is very interesting. Price is an element, value is a basket. Right? In value, you need portion size, you need music, you need variety, you need service, you need taste and price. Whereas in price, it's just price. So if you look at home delivery as a market, right?
Yeah.
World over, it's speed and value. Jaldi chahiye khana, sasta chahiye. Right? It doesn't come with music. It doesn't come with service. It's not going to come hot or not as hot as a restaurant. Right? So it's speed and value. Whereas restaurants are what? They'll add this entire thing, and where price is just one of the basket elements in the basket. So I prefer fighting. Even in luxury, there should be value. Just because a guy is rich doesn't mean that he's an idiot. In fact, he's more value conscious. He's smarter. So I love that element of building value in fine luxury.
But what's your favorite bottle of alcohol behind you there? What's the most unique bottle you have there?
Well, you ask me which time of the day, the answer might change. but I love storytelling.
Yes.
And one of my I'll tell you 2-3 stories, and hence I love those bottles. I do a master versus disciple face off.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of the Japanese great malts, which are world famous today, the malt masters in the 1930s trained under a distillery in Scotland called Longmorn. So for the Japanese malts, Longmorn is their master. Right? And they really look up to the master. And the master, which is Longmorn, is very proud of its disciple because the Japanese malts have done really well.
Yeah.
Right? So the master is proud of the disciple, and the disciple looks up to the master. So you can taste two of them side by side, and before you try them, you can have a master versus disciple face off in telling us which you think will be better, and does the answer change after you've had it. And though there is no right or wrong, I have the experience of asking 100 people, and I know where 90 of them have veered towards. Right? Or there's a whiskey for the Vikings, right? When the Vikings first invaded England, the island they went onto, and there's a Viking whiskey, right? Or there's a lovely blue label expression called Ghost and Rare, which is about distilleries that no longer exist and liquid that's disappeared, so it's Ghost and Rare. So alcohol is all about storytelling. And wine, similarly, at the wine company, I have a wine for a hustler. There's a wine. There's a perfect wine for a breakup, celebrating a breakup.
We need that.
So for you guys, there can be that perfect wine, and then wishing new love.
Yeah.
There's a wine for lost love. There's a wine for broken promises, unfulfilled promises. So it's all about storytelling. There's a wine blessed by the Pope, right? That gives you the keys to knowledge and wisdom. So there's just endless amount of stories with alcohol, and that's the space I really enjoy.
Do you think it's possible to succeed as an entrepreneur like you have without the kind of passion that you have?
I don't think you can succeed in life, man. Like, which student do you see succeeding? Forget an entrepreneur without passion.
That's true.
Which coach do you see succeeding without passion? Passion is that fire in that belly. You can see it in the eyes. It's the aura around you where you're committed.
Right. How do you find your passion? I think people really struggle, especially in our circles,
Yeah.
to find what makes them passionate, what gives them the fire in the belly.
Especially at our age, like in your early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
What do you know about life, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you find that?
That's a great question. I have two kids, 19 and 14. Although I'm 29, but
Yeah, exactly.
I tell them exactly the same thing I would tell someone in their early 20s. You have to silence your mind a little bit. Like, you just look at the immense clutter that you guys are around, right? There's Instagram, Snapchat, looking at what people are doing, and there's this FOMO happening, and it's all sorts of stuff happening. How can you be passionate unless you silence and see what you wish to do, where your excellence lies, where you don't mind failing? Right? So you have to spend a little time, and it's not about meditation. Don't look at your phone for the first 1 hour. Go to the gym. There's silence in the gym, right? Don't look at the phone for 1 hour before you sleep. Reduce your time looking at all this clutter. Look at even when you look at anyone's Instagram, it tells you the front page looks at your history and gives you your suggested content, right?
Yes.
You can look at, I guarantee you can go do this with your 5 buddies. Look at their screen, and if it's going to show chicks in bikinis or it's going to show hot guys, and that's the kind of content that they're really focusing on, boss, they can be finding their passion all year. They're not going to find it,
Yes.
right? They're looking in the wrong space. But if you find people whose content is inspiring, right, they will find their passion. So, what content are you taking in? Are you reducing your clutter and spending some time in silence? Are you building habits step by step? Habits of excellence, habits that are difficult, right? Because everyone says that, oh, you've succeeded and it's overnight success. Well, it's been 20 years of hard work to make that success, and small habits. Waking up early, never giving up, even going to the gym or eating correctly, right?
Yeah.
All these are habits. You surround yourself with this content, this habit, declutter yourself, you'll find your passion, man. It's not possible. And I think the core question is, what are you proud to talk about in front of friends? And it doesn't matter if you fail, right? So for an athlete who's committed to his sport, he'll talk about it to his buddies,
Yeah.
and he shows up on race day and maybe he loses, right? And that's the key. So are you ready to talk about what you're passionate about, ready to walk the walk, walk the talk, and it's okay to fail?
You also seem very self-aware, and I think you've built that over the years of being an entrepreneur. How have you learned to be okay with failure?
See, when I was young, I'm still young, but when I was younger,
The theme is set.
I
yeah,
love it.
there were three ways of getting rich, right? If you're really lucky, you marry rich, right? If that doesn't happen, hey, oh no, sorry, the first way is you're born rich,
Yeah.
right? Now, if that ain't happening, because you can't be born again, then you marry rich.
Can't be born again.
Well, in this existing lifetime, right? You're not born again, so you marry rich. Now, if that ain't happening because she's stunning, but she's not that rich, um, the third way is be an entrepreneur, right? There's no fourth way, buddy. Right? Yeah, you can work, and of course, you can be super rich as if you get into working and being persistent and great. But there are essentially these three ways, right? And when you embark on way three, you know if you have to be an entrepreneur to be rich, being rich is a function of the value you create, the space where you see crazy opportunities. Even with so many restaurants open today, right? There's so many opportunities, right? Where, like, I was asking someone, listen, for a country like India, which has grown up on old monk, right? Why don't we have a rum bar? Why don't we have a rum bar where rum has aged in coffee barrels and barrels with Alfonso mango or barrels with spices? How cool would that be? We make some of the nicest rice in the world with basmati and stuff. All of Japanese sake is rice wine. Why don't we give, like tequila is today the hot favorite. Why don't we really come up with rice wine from India, which is at par with the best sakes? There's so much that can be done.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have a chain of chola bhaturas?
Actually doesn't exist.
Haldiram's?
No, yeah, it's there great as packaged food.
Yes.
But in terms of the restaurants, it's not
Yeah, no,
as
it's
big.
It's not an experience.
It's not an experience. Yes.
No, even if it is a great experience, but it's not everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? They're concentrating on packaged food and a little lesser on the restaurant front. But there's so many opportunities.
Right.
Right? So you can just look at any one opportunity and explode that and say, hey, tell me something. Why can't we have, what would be the world's first collaborative AI alcohol brand? And how would that work? How would AI would completely transform the drinking experience? Right? And I'm working on something on those lines.
Can you talk about it?
A little bit.
Okay.
As long as you air this in 2027, you can talk about it.
Interesting. 'Cause,
No,
yeah.
but like if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
There's an essential problem with rituals.
Yes.
Let's talk about rituals for a second in alcohol. So there's this amazing ritual with tequila where you take salt, lick the salt, swig the tequila, then take a piece of lime. Well, what's a second ritual? The only other ritual that you can really think of is like putting lime down a Corona bottle and drinking that beer, right? That particular beer. But how many rituals are there? Why aren't there 3, 4 more rituals that the whole world adopts? How do you build those rituals? Right? How can you make a market out of those rituals? These are like solid questions,
Yeah.
right? And very exciting possibilities. What would be, so there was a gin craze a couple of years back, and now it's the tequila craze. What's going to be the next craze? And how do you create products which really are at the forefront of those crazes?
How do you identify the next opportunity though?
You dream. You just see the whole thing is, guys, you have to be 5 minutes ahead of the clock. So if there are two hands on a clock and they are at 12, if you are at 15, you're too far ahead. Right? If you're 5 minutes behind, you've lost. So how do you always think 5 minutes ahead and you can't do that? Okay, let's think at your age, you guys are constantly attending weddings, right? I frankly call Indian weddings, which are really well done and stuff, but for me, they are like an elevated food court. right? Why? They'll have like 80 cuisines with a U-shaped massive counter, gorgeous decor, everything, and one bar. One bar. Why? So you have 80 cuisines and one bar. Wait, do you have a speakeasy that's opening up at 11 or 12? Do you have a cigar lounge? Do you have beverage experiences that can match the 80 different kind of food experiences? With sushi being served, is there any Japanese liquor with the sushi? No. Why? Just in the space of wedding experiences. Why? So like we are thinking of creating a drinks theater, which is like a Cirque du Soleil for the entire alcohol experience, right? You just have to look at current problems and say, go crazy in imagining what can be done. Like you guys have all studied in US colleges, right? So what would make the provost or the chancellor of the college hug you guys? Right? If I pose this question to you and I say, tell me three things, not excellence, right? So, okay, yeah, of course, if you're the topper in the college, he'll hug you. You're the best sportsman in the college, he'll hug you. Now, you're not the topper and you're not the best sportsman, but we want to be an entrepreneur, right? So, and you are still in college. It's not that you've graduated and you're lump. What would make the chancellor of the university seek you out, come to your dorm, and hug you?
If you're doing something really disruptive, where
Yeah, disruptive, like what?
then something disruptive in some industry
Like
that
what?
would get the name out there.
So while you're in college, you're a
Yes.
second year student, first
Yes.
year student, third year student.
Yes.
What is the exact? Now this goes back to the same mid-20s problem
Yes.
of what should I do
Yes.
that sets me apart. So I'm saying, okay, forget in your mid-20s. You were in college some time back, or you might do your masters, right? What will make the chancellor hug you? You find the answer to that, and we'll discuss this as a case study. If you can solve this, you'll find what will happen next year when somebody else should hug you. Right? Why should Elon Musk hug you? Why should Mother Teresa hug? Why should, well, not Mother Teresa, hopefully, because she's, God bless her soul, she's no longer here. So you don't want her hugging you right now. But why? Why? Let's go back to the chancellor, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the US, all colleges have an endowment fund, right? And the endowment fund for Harvard, for example, is massive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? For other colleges is at different levels. And it's about how much donations the university's alum give the college and then how the college invests it. Right? What if you as a student can increase the number of donations and the donation size and increase the endowment fund for the college? What if you can double the endowment fund? Not because they spend it in a better and invest it better. No. That's ego saying, I know how you can invest it better. How about I'll double your inflow because guess what? I've targeted every alum through this AI mapping of every alum who's there. And I'm going to make sure that instead of 4% of the alum contributing, 34% of the alum will contribute and they will contribute in X manner, Y manner. Listen, why are we going to the CEO of this Indian company who's an alum and only asking for $10? Why are we telling him, who's a science graduate, that invest in an arts theater lab? Why aren't we going? So why aren't you going and just doubling the endowment fund of your college? Would that make the chancellor of the university hug you?
He'll do a lot more than that, but
He'll do a lot more than he might make your college education free, everything, isn't it? Right? So worry about the now. Worry about how can I get whatever your circle of influence is, how can you excel it in such a way that the chancellor of that circle decides to hug you? Right? So if you're in university or in school, you do that. You move into the work sphere. Well, how does the chairman of the company where you're just an intern come out and hug you?
Yeah.
And that won't happen unless you're making the company valuable, or giving them something rather than taking.
Right.
Right? So think about them now. You excel today, it'll become a habit. It's just a habit where you are giving in such large doses that you'll find the idea tomorrow when the landscape increases.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. Like, if you look at podcasts, what can you do? Right now, if you look at most people who'll make podcasts, they will want to grow their reach.
Yes.
Right? Forget their reach. Right? How can your podcast be of immense genuine value, right, to the speaker, to the people who are listening it, and hence you? How can the guy who's been on your podcast come and hug you saying, guess what, my business tripled because of you guys? If you answer that question, of course you'll benefit.
Yeah. Value creation.
Right? Because he's going to go and say, listen, everyone should be on this podcast. There should be a waiting list for people to be on your podcast because it's helped the person rather than helping you. Helping you will happen.
Yes. Right.
Right? So I think that's what's so critical.
You've also been so targeted in just value creation that I think your mindset is such where you look for the opportunities where you can create the most value, not from a short term lens. You're always thinking about, like we spoke about earlier, a much longer term lens where you're building a network effect, you're building the relationships, and you're creating that immense value
Yeah.
as a byproduct of all of that. So it's quite an interesting school of thought. And on the college topic, you have two kids of your own. One is in college right now. How do you approach these kind of conversations with him, seeing that he's gone to college in a year that the world is changing at arguably the most rapid pace?
Yeah. See, I've given him a water mat, right? He genuinely talks to water. I talk to water 30 minutes a day. I
Okay.
seriously talk to water. And I'm telling you guys, anyone who does this, right, it'll change their life.
Is
Because
water responsive?
you're 70% water. There's a guy, check him online. There's a guy called Masuro Emoto,
Okay.
a Japanese scientist who in the early 2000s proved that water has memory. So if you have two glasses of water and you say, I love you to one and I hate you to one, and you look at both pieces or specks of that water under a microscope, the molecular structure of the two waters will differ. So you can charge your water with intention. Right? So you can talk for 30 minutes. So this is all intention that's written, charging the tea and drinking the tea. And it charges you. It'll change you. It'll change you completely. Right? So I talk to water 30 minutes a day. I tell my son, talk to water 30 minutes a day. Build, just like you build your gym muscle, your academic muscle, build your spiritual muscle. Spend some time alone. Write a gratitude journal. All this will help you find your answers on what to excel at. Right? Declutter you. But I've told him, listen, double the endowment fund of your college. Right? As an example, I said, go do that. And I keep telling people, listen, don't look for when I get out of college, I'll be great. It happens, listen, it happens to all of us. When I'm in 7th grade, I'll say, in 8th, I'll do very well. Right?
Been there.
We've all been there, right? Next year, I'll do very well. Why, boss? Why? What can you do for your sibling to come and hug you? For your parents to come and hug. Because the minute you start thinking of helping people succeed, you will automatically succeed. Right? Start small, build that kind of a practice, and then you'll come to many things. And like I say with whiskeys, you have to flirt with many to romance a couple. Right? So flirt with many ideas, but zero in and romance on a couple. But the couple of ideas have to give disproportionate benefit to someone.
You s- you seem to think about other people a lot and how you can help them and create value for them. And business is a very cutthroat environment. Does it get hard to demarcate sometimes when you're just being taken advantage of
No,
for your
why?
goodwill?
Why
Or
is sorry? Just give me a second.
yes, go-
Can I have the coaster? जो हमारा coaster पे लिखा है उसके साथ white हाँ उसको भी. Um, I will beg to disagree with that. Business is not cutthroat.
okay.
I mean, why shouldn't business be a pleasure? Why shouldn't you be, doing business with people you love doing business?
Okay.
People who give you credit, who speak well of you, um, even competition that admires you. Look at Ratan Tata. He's such an elusive business leader, and the country is mourning him, right? And this is not someone who gave regular interviews and stuff. So we've got to, change our vocabulary into thinking that things are cutthroat, competitive, difficult, all nonsense.
Right.
Not true. I want to show you. This is like the coaster, the whiskey samba coaster, right? Now, people at night drinking this, that. We don't want to be anything in your face. But if you read what's written on the coaster, it's in very small, right? But you can read what's written on the coaster.
This meal is served with energy of abundance in love and wealth for you. There's
Good vibes everywhere.
yeah,
Good vibes everywhere.
there's good
Yeah.
vibes for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And be
That's a very
competitive. Huh? That doesn't mean
Yeah.
that your fight. The reconciliation is, oh, no, you can, no. You build your fire in the belly. Be hyper competitive, but not at the cost of harming someone. You be hyper competitive because you have a brilliant idea. You find it compelling
Right.
that this should happen. But it doesn't have to be at the cost of someone else.
Right. I think though for you, you also take a much more holistic worldview of business. I've had conversations with a lot of people. I live in America now, and I think where his idea came from as well about it being so cutthroat is over there. A lot of the conversations I've had, it's a zero sum game. If I'm in business, I'm either winning or losing, and if
No,
I'm
why
losing,
can't you win with blessings?
that's a mindset that you've built
It's
over
not
the
a it's
years.
not a mindset I've built. It is the mindset that anyone who genuinely long term succeeds has. Right? You look at guys, you look at the Dow Jones, you look at the Nifty, look at companies that have lasted 30, 40, 50 years. Handful. Handful. Right? Let's take Apple for a second. Right? Doesn't the product give you joy?
It does.
Right? Doesn't the product genuinely innovate? Is it not the most expensive? Right? It's doing all of that and succeeding. So why can't you look at cutthroat should be be ruthless with your ambition, your desire, but spread happiness. I go back to Ratan Tata. Great example. Look at a guy like, say President Obama, same country. He's succeed. Look at the current presidential race, highly divisive. In the US, in fact, there's a great example. There were two reality shows around the same time. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I've forgotten, there was a second show, and the name's going to come to me.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Huh? Sorry?
Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Was it that?
No, it
No?
was a single word.
Single word.
Yeah, it was a single word. But
okay.
the two shows had
Yeah.
very different approaches, right? Both gave prize money. Both had like quiz questions. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire became a worldwide hit, and the second show died. Right? Why? Because in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, there's a lifeline. 1, 2, 3. You can phone a friend, you can ask the audience. The people are helping you succeed. People want you to succeed.
Interesting.
Right? In the other show, it was about people betting for your failure.
Right.
Ah.
Right?
But don't you feel like controversy and these type of negative emotions gather a lot more attention.
But you've got guys like Tom Hanks also winning Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Right? You've got nice guys everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the bad guys or the non-peaceful will not succeed. Maybe they do, but they're not peaceful.
Uh-huh.
So maybe your cutthroat, of course, you might succeed with that cutthroat. But are you going to be happy and peaceful succeeding?
No, I'm not.
There's a quote saying that success has killed more people than failure has. How many middle class people
Yes.
reach serious levels of despair because they're middle class?
Right.
But unfortunately, how many successful people end up taking the drastic step of taking their lives? Because genuinely success doesn't equal happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to build success and happiness together. No one is saying don't succeed. But listen, enjoy the success because you're happy.
Right.
Otherwise, what's going to happen, bro?
Yeah. How do you keep enjoying the success and keep building businesses again and again and again?
No, so listen, let's answer this problem as a role play with your lives, right? And your stage in life, right? So there is always, listen, which career path should I take? Which girl should I date? Right? Where should I stay? Will I make enough money in the future? There are all these different things. Am I right?
Yeah,
Right? Going through, right?
absolutely.
What's happening in the moment? Everything is future, past. Which of these is concentrating on the moment and saying, you know what, today I'm going to go out and have a great game of tennis and kick someone's butt. And I'm going to go out with this girl and have the nicest date with her and eat the nicest meal. And I'm going to write this report, which my boss is going to hug me for. Right? So, what about today? You just excel today and then excel tomorrow and then excel today, day after. And that's it. You'll be happy and you'll excel. Otherwise, you're always racing towards the next goal. Towards who's, I mean, you ask your parents, right? They've been incredibly successful. But over the years, the first a guy wants at your age, you want X house and Y girl, and or forget people. You want X house and Y watch and Z car. Then once you get it, then why do you want something else? Why? Why is it a constant moving thing? And there's nothing wrong with a moving, timeline. But enjoy the present, man.
Yep.
Enjoy the present and build kick-ass businesses. Build crazy ideas. I think your age, we need to spend more time discussing 3 ideas that are just impossible, right? But how cool would it be if that happened, right? So like, give me an example. You love sports,
Yep.
right? How cool would it be, right? Because we've always seen naturally super talented sports children. I mean, certain kids do really well even at 11, 12, 13, and then carry on doing really well and blah, 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 right? How cool would it be that every kid knows exactly what sport they're great at, even if it's chess, right? And each of them is able to win medals while they're in school. How about what would be the child population in the world today? 8 billion people in the world. What would be the child population? 20% that children, say 1.6 billion children. All 1.6 billion children winning a medal in some sport in their childhood.
Yeah.
Right? How do we make that possible? What technology, what business can make that possible? Would that be a valuable business?
Very.
Right? So why don't we spend crazy times, possibly over whiskey, but thinking of crazy ass ideas? Like what are you passionate about, or tell me anything that you love doing.
So I do research in AI. I enjoy the space. I think the ability to understand intelligence and be able to create that on our own without a biological body is very interesting. That's something that really fascinates me.
Yeah.
And so I want to work in that space. I want to take that technology forward because I think that'll have huge impact because software is also something that's relatively easily scalable.
Yeah.
And so if you can make something that is a tool that increases efficiency in some way,
Yeah.
you can increase the efficiency for the entire world altogether.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen, I fully agree with you. So let's talk about AI for a second, right? I run a water NGO. I'm deeply passionate about water. What's just like you have an Apple Watch or you have wearables. What are wearables for nature? Why doesn't nature have wearables?
What do you mean by nature wearables?
So, so why can't
Something that tracks how nature is
no?
doing.
Why can't every tree,
Yes.
right, on the planet tell you how much carbon it's sequestering? Why can't every tree, be appropriate for its climate, and the right trees are planted for the right climate because they sequester greater carbon, right? Why can't every person who plants a tree get carbon credits that he can trade because he knows exactly real time how much that's happening? So the possibilities of madness are immense, no? With even with AI. Why can't tell me something? If in New York every apartment had appropriate plant wearables,
Yes.
right? And you could tell which apartment block is or which house center to the apartment number, right, is able to sequester how much carbon because of the right plants, because of the right usage of water, right? Instead of just any random plant.
Right.
And what if that's on a grid and you can have those carbon credits and you can trade those carbon credits with actual money and help the environment? So that is, you the minute you can pick whatever you are passionate about, and this is just a one-off conversation, but why today there's an Amazon, right, for products? Why isn't there an Amazon for uh, nature? Right? Why can't I say, listen, there's this project happening in Namibia and this happening in India and this happening in the US and these cornfields being this thing, and I want to be involved and this is how I want to trade uh, in that particular way, or I can certify that this is what has happened and genuine carbon has been, reduced and X, Y, Z. Why? You know, there's just endless possibilities for mega wealth
Right.
creation even today. So, if you spend 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, start a diary of miracle journaling. I actually have a miracle journal in my phone. Like I write when miracles hit me, right?
That's very interesting. What
Yeah.
was there a specific moment that made you start it?
Yeah. So I have a gratitude journal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my gratitude journal is a little crazy also. Like it's with emojis and stuff, right? I'll
Oh,
put
I love that.
emojis and all sorts of stuff. And then I have show you. I have over here a miracle journal with days of when the miracle that I thought of happened.
Is there a specific one that you're like, I don't know, most proud of, or that you just simply did not expect?
All the miracles are what I didn't expect. Each and every miracle is a miracle because it's 1 in a million chance of it happening. And it happens.
You spoke about a lot of ideas right now, just about things that you can do and how you can create mega wealth. When you're starting an enterprise of your own, whether it be in restaurants, something brick and mortar, something software, technology, anything, is it important to, from the beginning, think about and have a good idea of how you'll monetize it, or is it only important to understand how you'll create value and money will follow eventually?
Well, the schools of thought on that are divided,
Okay.
right? So a lot of a lot of, especially with tech,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of guys will say, "Listen, do it, and then we'll figure it out along the way,"
Yeah.
right? Um, I and there's no right or wrong way of answering this. In my view,
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully agree with that. Right? Why I don't agree with that is because you can't go to a consumer, right? And he would want everything, right? So I, for example, I want every feature on an Apple Watch, and I want it cheaper,
Okay.
right? So the customer or the guest is not always right,
Mm-hmm.
because if it was up to him, he would want everything. And like, I would love to go to McDonald's and be served. True or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But that's not how McDonald's can make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my view, if you do not think of how you can make money,
Mm-hmm.
you don't think of what you're not going to do.
Ah.
You're not going to, it's very important in business to stand for what will you not do, because that will also define how you make money. Because if you go ahead and start saying, I'll do everything, because guess what? The customer is saying this, you'll never make money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think it's very important. So even if you look at, like, you look at WhatsApp, right? It was very clear that I'm gonna do X. Facebook said I'm gonna do X. Instagram said I'm gonna do, but they suddenly didn't say that, while building this, just because I have this, guess what? I'm also gonna do trading on X on the early days, or
Yeah.
Y or Z.
Yeah.
You build what you will do
Mm-hmm.
and what you will not do. And as long as you have these two things answered, if it's taking time for money because you need to scale it or X or Y, fair enough. But you're very clear that I will not do X.
Within the businesses that you've built, was there one or two that were particularly hard to build because you weren't quite able to figure out the what to do and what not to
Yeah,
do?
I see. For me, my first business, Yo China, was exactly this mistake. I didn't have an answer of what I will not do. Right? So I wanted to be the price point of a McDonald's, but I wanted to give the service of a Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And I wanted the variety of both of them put together. Right?
Yes.
Now, what am I not doing? And there was no answer. I was giving great service, great variety, low price point, prime real estate. There was nothing that you were not doing. If you look at cloud kitchens as an example today, right, they're saying very clearly, we will not do dine in. We will focus on, so we are not doing experience,
Yeah.
right? So, one of the reasons for the failure, and that's what happened on the cost side, was the cost exploded because you're just doing everything. And you're not saying, I won't do. So, Pizza Hut says, no, I will give you. And if you look at, let's talk about food as a business, right? So there is McDonald's, which is completely transactional, which says, you give me money, I give you food. But you come to the counter and we'll do this transaction. Subway goes a little further and says, let's build it along the way, we'll build it. But then you give me money, I give you the food. But there's some experience built along the way. Coffee goes a little further. Says, okay, no, you pay for it and sit down, maybe I'll serve you on your table. Fine dining goes even further. Says, I'll serve you, and at the end of the meal, I'll charge you. But do the price points change along this way? Of course it does.
Yeah.
Now, if you suddenly take this example and say, no, let the fine dining be the cost of a Subway, it's not going to work. So, in business, it's very important to know what you want to do.
Is that how you lost your first 100 crores?
Absolutely, I did everything.
You like in that journey of transactional to the
Experience.
fine dining, it seems like experience is what kind of fills the void there. And
No, you can also give experience in value, right? So McDonald's gives a very clear set of experiences. It's just not luxury experiences,
yeah.
but is the McDonald's experience existing and consistent? Absolutely. For example, McDonald's says, we'll give you the cleanest toilets on highways. And that's a genuine, consistent experience,
Yeah.
right? McDonald's says it's not about liking and not liking my burger as much as saying it'll be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
That's an experience.
Yeah. Ah, consistency. Interesting.
So you got to be consistent in your outlook on that. Yeah.
I wanna talk about one of the, I think the most, I don't know, impressive businesses that you've built. Whiskey Samba, of course, goes without saying, but you just started Mademoiselle in Goa, and the concept is so interesting. Where you decided to bring a piece of Paris into India. What was the creative process, the idea? Where does something like that even stem from? Take us through that
Yeah.
journey.
So whenever I start a restaurant, I look at a word cloud,
Okay.
right? And that word cloud is what emotions should the guest feel when they enter the restaurant, right? So your what should you go back feeling, not experiencing? That'll be a answer to your feelings. But what, when you leave a space, what should you leave feeling? So in Mademoiselle's case, I wanted them to feel as if they are in the French Riviera. I wanted it to be romantic. I wanted it to be gourmet food. I wanted to be playful. As you become older, you become less playful. So, for example, to give that playfulness, I put a carousel in the middle of the restaurant. And I said, it's bad karma to get on the carousel without a drink and a girl, right? So it was a carousel for adults.
Yeah.
But it starts with the emotions. Like, what emotions do you want the person to feel? Similarly, at Whiskey Samba, I wanted 18 to be the new 12. All of us have great whiskeys at home. The minute we go, we'll have an 18-year-old at home. The minute you go to a restaurant, you will suddenly come down to a 12-year-old. Could be the price, could be whatever, but it happens. Why? In a restaurant, why shouldn't 18 be the new 12? Why shouldn't you be flirting with Taiwanese whiskeys? So, how do you build then? So, the minute you have that word cloud of experiences, then you build execution to make that happen. So, for example, at Whiskey Samba, every time you order a drink, even if it's 30 ml, the bottle comes to the table, right? And it makes you see that you might have never heard of Kavalan or a Kraganmore, but that bottle will come to the table. You've ordered it. They pour you that drink on the table. They pour you a little extra as an angel's share. And then they leave the bottle on the table for you to chat about, take a story, Instagram story, discuss it, maybe have experience. Somebody else on the table has tasted it and they're discussing it. But you build experiences because you want people to start saying 18 should be the new 12. We want to flirt with a lot of whiskeys. So that's the word cloud.
Yeah.
And then you start building your experiences to cater to that word cloud. So it goes back to what should you feel, right? Same thing with an Apple Watch, same thing with a Tesla, same thing with a great car or what do you want them to feel? And then you build your product and your experiences or your services or whatever around that.
Were you always this passionate about the restaurant and experience business, or did you find an opportunity with your China first
Yeah.
and be like, okay, there's a gap in the
Yeah.
market for Chinese food in India, and so you started that, and that's when your passion for these kind of things started developing.
I again, I've been to conferences and people said, we're so passionate about this particular. I don't, and I would sit in and listen, and I don't think the Airbnb founder could have been so passionate about what renting his home,
Yeah.
you
Fair
know,
enough.
Spot on.
or Amazon Jeff Bezos could have been saying, guess what? I want to be a dukandar, right? I think yes, it does happen, right? In very sector specific businesses, where someone says, listen, I'm super passionate about water bottles and I'm going to build the world's largest business around water bottles. It does happen, truly does happen. But that's not a prerequisite to creating a great idea.
Yeah.
You have to see a gap,
Hmm.
right? And let's think of even a bigger human problem. How can you make people richer,
Uh-huh.
right? How can you can make people richer by sweating assets that they have
Hmm.
rather than buying new assets.
Hmm.
Of course, you can make me richer if you give me $1 million and then tell me, listen, invest this million properly and you'll make 2 million. But first, I have to have $1 million, right? Now, forget that. How can you make me my 2 million without me spending another million or earning $1 million?
Hmm.
With whatever I have, how do I make 2 million? So how can you make me richer? So how does your business make me richer?
Hmm.
Right? Tons of business ideas. So that's where sweating the asset of my home is empty. My car is not being used. So whether it's Uber, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's other businesses, if you're making someone richer, it's got to work. And you go down that path. So what are different assets? People have networks, right? So LinkedIn came in and said, listen, how can you monetize your network? Facebook and Instagram has said, listen, you have a social circle of friends. Let's help you monetize that. So let's make you richer with whatever you have. And that's great, right?
Yes.
So how can you make a person richer, the world richer with whatever they have? And then there can be other businesses that say, right, I can help you invest this better. And then there's some other businesses that can come in with, saying, listen, now that you've become rich or whatever, you want to buy better, buy cheaper, buy. So there's some basic fundamental principles. You can either make me richer because I spend less. So with my same resources, it's cheaper to buy at this place with a greater variety, or because I'm earning more. The P&L is only top line or bottom line, revenue and cost. So either you earn me more or you save me money. Now, where is your business going to, and if it's not this, and if it's about fulfillment, emotional fulfillment, like say Tinder or whatever these things, I will take it away from transactional. Because human beings are not meant to be one-on-one transaction, right? So I think you either there's a service or there are products, but then you have to fill a larger need.
Right.
Making paraplegics walk. Now that's not about earning or saving, but about making a human life better. Right? Even if you look at dating, the original thought was not one night stands. The original thought was, listen, how do we make people, lead more fulfilled romantic lives because they meet better people?
Yes.
That was the original thought.
Yes.
Now, execution can vary and whatever happens, that's a separate thing. But you making paraplegics walk is, a similar way. So you have to decide which way your business wants to go, revenue, cost, or fulfilling lifestyle in a way which is amazing.
Right.
And then solve for that in a profitable way.
When it comes to restaurants, having a bunch of different restaurants, and given how hard it is to have a successful restaurant, I think it's something like 80% of restaurants fail in the first 5 years, more than 50% in the first year itself. Um, what allows you to go hit after hit with every restaurant and then make it through times like COVID, which is something completely unprecedented? You have a huge portfolio of restaurants. Every single one of them would have been hit massively with something like that. So how do you adapt to changes like that and keep on going in something that's such a hard market?
But I've lost 100 crores.
Yes.
after you lose after you lose 100 crores, nothing. Everything is par for the course. There's no problem. But first, I'll come to COVID. Uncertainty was massive,
Yes.
right? The key to these difficult times is you keep moving. Keep trying. You just so we've started this thing of saying, let's do cocktails on the go. So we'll send you cocktail kits.
Right. I remember
Right.
those coming to the
You
house.
remember the cocktail
Yeah.
kits? We said we'll try and sell you great cocktail kits. Right? Maybe like that whole idea was silly and wouldn't really work post COVID, but at least during COVID, you're trying, you're trying, you're trying. You
Right.
only, boss, you just get marks for persistence.
Mhm.
Rest you leave it. So you lage raho. You know, and that is it, lage raho, persistence karte raho. At some point it'll work. As far as hit after hit, I've also had a lot of failures along the way. Right? So I've had some restaurants shut because of COVID. I've had some restaurants shut because of financially they weren't run the right way. Right? Um, like say Yo China is a classic example around that. So it's not true that you'll only have a string of successes. Yes, your success ratio should be better than your failure ratio.
Right.
That's very important. But you will still go through good and bad hits.
It's the perseverance that's important.
Well, that's it. Lage raho. You keep at it, and eventually the tide will turn. But you have to. One mistake which a lot of Indian entrepreneurs especially make is they don't cut their losses fast enough.
Or they get emotional about
Emotional.
the
You know,
sunk
you
cost
see in
already.
America, one of the nice things is that the failure rate is very high. Right? So you fail, move. In India, very often you're like, although it's changing with the younger generation because you'll see a lot of people fail in two businesses and succeed with their third.
Yeah.
But traditionally, the old Indian mentality was, no, no, I have to try a little more. This is mine. This is my baby. This, that. So you have to learn how to call it quits very fast. Oh. Find balance between perseverance and calling it quits. Reading the writing on the wall.
Right.
Being smart enough to do that.
Is there one, if you had to pick one of your businesses that you're most proud of, which one would it be?
My water. It's not a business. It is in the
NGO?
business of collecting blessings. So, hey, because of water, there I am, I'm holding water. Because of water and collecting blessings, everything else works.
And amongst the restaurants and the boutique hotels?
See, I think each one is a different experience.
Right.
You know, so
Definitely.
for me, I still feel for romance, wine company is amazing. Right? I think Whiskey Samba is about edgy, a great vibe and high energy and business and this. Antares on the beach. Wow. So each one is got its own place for you to enjoy. But I'm more excited, I would say, about also some of these new developments and possibilities of building out a drinks theater for the whole celebration market. You know, when whether it be it birthdays, whether be it weddings, be it large celebrations, how can I do a lot? Thank you. Thank you. How can I do stuff to create this drinks theater? What can we do? You know, imagine walking inside a restaurant and having a water library, right? So you're choosing water which is blessed with an abundance of love, abundance of sex, abundance of wealth, abundance of peace. No judging which abundance you want, but so there's so many different things. Building this alcohol, which is built with an AI touch, which is completely interactive and builds rituals which the world can follow suit on. So I think it's about these possibilities that hopefully in the next year or two, some of these will kickstart, and we'll have another podcast on how these guy things materialized.
There's, I feel like there's so much to dissect, but on that note, if you could leave every single person in their 20s listening to this with a couple pieces of advice, what would those be?
Oh, that's I would say, listen, guys, have fun. Have fun, where you have fun for yourself, right? You have to enjoy the process. And the process is have fun every day. Not some point in the future when you will achieve what you will, but have fun along the way every single day. Read a lot, instead of just podcasts and in reading and videos and this and that, be conscious of reading, because reading builds vocabulary. Right? One skill that no other habit will build for you is reading, which helps you build a tangible skill of vocabulary. See intelligent podcasts and intelligent content like this.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Are there
So
any-
do stuff which your inflow of content is rich. There's nothing wrong with Instagram. There's nothing wrong with YouTube. Just choose what you wish to watch in. Dream fucking big, like king size. Crazy. I think everyone should have a Friday evening with buddies discussing impossible ideas. Right? That should be like a club. You should have like Mondays, or every university should have a gratitude 101 course, right?
Yeah.
So have a set of buddies where you're discussing gratitude every day, and you're discussing crazy ideas every day, right? Surround yourself with beautiful souls, guys who are really good people.
Exactly.
any books and podcasts you'd recommend?
I have a whole list.
Yes.
It depends if it's health. It's so. Someone asked me, this is a great question, and it comes up to the advice for the youngsters also. They said, "Who's your mentor?" And I said, "Well, I have a financial mentor. I have a creativity mentor.
Yes.
I have a soul mentor. I have a moral compass mentor. I have a sports and lifestyle mentor." Right? So pick your mentors in all these different phases. It can't be the one person. Right? You pick your mentor for creativity will be very different from the mentor who will teach you sound financial advice.
Yeah.
Right? So who are your top 5 mentors? Are you spending enough time with them? Right? Build your spiritual practices where you are journaling your gratitude, you are talking to water. Talk to water, talk to water, talk to water. Right? Earn blessings. Spend time alone. I think you do a bunch of these things, and success is guaranteed. The only thing that's not guaranteed is when.
Is?
When, right? So that's where patience kicks in.
Yes.
Right.
Maybe some will succeed in their 20s, some in their 30s, some in their 40s, but it's okay. You guaranteed you'll succeed, because along the way you're having fun.
Yep.
That's a beautiful way.
I love that.
That's a beautiful thought to leave everyone with. I
So
like that.
yeah,
Dream fucking big, have fun, drink some whiskey,
Yeah.
and keep watching Panoramic Perspectives.
Talk to water.
Don't forget to talk to water. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining on that episode. Stay tuned for the next one.